River, Massachusetts, 1892. Lizzie Borden is tried and acquitted for the murder of her father, Andrew, and her stepmother, Abby. Movies, books, shows, documentaries would be made about this woman, arguably the most famous axe murdering case in American history. Today we're gonna talk about what really happened, tell you the true story, take you to the real life locations. Right now I'm standing in Oak Grove Cemetery where Lizzie and the whole Borden family is buried. We'll start the video here and also end the video here at the end going to see her gravesite. We're gonna go to the Lizzie Borden house. Obviously, you know, if you're gonna do a Lizzie Borden video, you gotta go to the house. We're gonna go to her dream home, which she lived her days out where she died, called Maplecroft. And we're actually gonna go to the courthouse where her trial was held. Well, my friends, we're on Borden Street, and I have a little something extra, a little surprise coming up for us before we get to the house. Look at that, right down the road from the house is the Lizzie building. It is July of 1892, and arguments have been going on inside the Borden house, which causes Lizzie and her sister Emma to take an extended vacation. After Lizzie and Emma get back from their vacation, Lizzie doesn't want to go back to the house. So what she's going to do is she's going to actually stay in a boarding house rather than go back to her house, which plays a small part in the court case. We have arrived at the Lizzie Borden house. Holy crap. Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. Wow, and they actually have a hatchet right there on the welcome sign. That's pretty scary. Welcome to the historic Lizzie Borden house, one of the top 10 most haunted places in America. It's open daily for tours, obviously, and overnight stays. Wow, the main entrance to the Borden house. I'm pretty sure that's still the original door from what I've seen and read online. This is crazy, and it's supposedly painted to look like it did back in the 1800s. Andrew J. Borden House, 1845. So back in the day, this section of Fall River would have been pretty much like the lower middle class. So Lizzie never actually liked living here. She felt like the Bordens and their family were more upper class, which they were, but her father was so frugal that he was like, they didn't even have electricity inside the house. They were like running off candles and stuff, which is pretty crazy, but maybe that's why he had so much money. I don't know. They would have had a barn set up. Maybe it was actually this building. It could have been inside there that they turned into a gift shop. I don't know. August 4th, 1892. Lizzie's stepmother Abby goes upstairs sometime between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. to make the bed. According to the investigation, Abby was facing her killer at the time of the attack. She was first struck on the side of the head with a hatchet, which cut her just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall face down on the floor, creating contusions on her nose and her forehead. Her killer then struck her multiple times, delivering 17 more direct hits to the back of her head. Now when her father Andrew returned at 10:30 a.m., his key failed to open the door, so he knocks. The maid opens the door for him. She would later testify that she heard Lizzie laughing immediately after this, and stated that the laughter was coming from the top of the stairs. Just after 11 a.m., Andrew was found slumped on a couch in the downstairs sitting room, struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon. But I do wonder which upstairs would have been the room where her stepmother was murdered, the room, Lizzie's bedroom, obviously maybe on this first floor here, had to be where her father was murdered. Now obviously you can tour this. We are not touring the house today. We're simply visiting from out of state and only have so much time in the day with our schedule, but I definitely wanted to come and visit here. This is like friggin' really cool to see in person. And if you love like haunted dark historical locations, this is something you have to see if you're in the state of Massachusetts. Who knows, maybe it's right through these windows where Andrew Borden was axed, or maybe this is the room where the autopsies were. I don't know. So it's crazy to think too, right inside this living room, they held the autopsies for Andrew and her stepmother Abby. Supposedly, when Lizzie saw their bodies, she fainted. Crazy to think though, the autopsies happened right here. And also I wanted to add the sofa that Andrew Borden was killed on. They have a replica. Obviously that's not the original that's in there today because people sit on it. But crazy things happen inside this house. And also one of the top 10 haunted places in America. Funny enough, right next to the Lizzie Borden house is the Miss Lizzie's Coffee. All right, well now we've seen the Lizzie Borden house itself. We've talked about the murders, we know what happened. Now we're going to go to the courthouse where Lizzie was tried and acquitted. So let's go. All right, friends, we've made it to our next location. We arrived at the old courthouse that Lizzie Borden was tried and acquitted. Now, it took me, oh gosh, it took me forever to find this location online, but I'm so glad I did it. The building looks so old, and obviously it is. It's here from the 1800s, but we're gonna go check it out now. Let's go. Can't believe this courthouse is still here, but we've made it. Wow. So look at that. 5 days before Lizzie's trial, another axe murder happens in the same town of Fall River. The similarities are noted by the jury and play a huge part in the verdict. The jury determines that the hatchet found in the basement was not enough evidence to be the murder weapon. However, a thorough investigation never happened. Although acquitted, Lizzie remained the prime suspect the rest of her life. Can you imagine Lizzie Borden inside this building and then walking out these doors when she was acquitted? I cannot. Well, my friends, we've made it to the next location. We are in the neighborhood where Lizzie moved after the trial. She always wanted to live kind of up on this hill here in a more upscale community. She had a lot of friends in the theater, and you know, like I said, the Bordens were wealthy, so she wanted to live up here. Right after the trial, not only did Lizzie move up to this upscale neighborhood, but she also would then change her name to Lizbeth. No longer wanted to be called Lizzie. Name was changed to simply Lizbeth. And in reality, this house is only 4 minutes from the Borden house. Just to the left here is the Lizzie Borden house, or I should say Elizabeth, that Lizzie lived at the rest of her days, where she died at 66 years old, and that she named Maplecroft. Look at that, it still says Maplecroft on the steps, still to this day. So obviously Lizzie, once her parents, especially her dad, passed away, she inherited a lot of money. So she had live-in maids, she had like a horse keeper, coachman. She was a big partier. She had a lot of friends in theater. I'm sure she would have plenty of parties here at this house. We could see definitely, you know, walking around this neighborhood. I mean, it's on top of the hill, the water's straight ahead down there. Look at some of these houses. Big change from the houses that were in the neighborhood where her other house was. All right, we are back at Oak Grove Cemetery. It's actually beautiful here. If you put in the maps, if you do want to visit Lizzie's gravesite, if you put in Lizzie Borden, it should come up. But for us, when we were walking around, the dead giveaway was the A.J. Borden marker straight ahead. And right here in front of us is the Borden family plot. Let's go take a look. Now, if we swing around to the side here, on the side it says children of Andrew and Sarah Borden. So that would have been Lizzie's father, Andrew, and her actual mother, not her stepmother, but her actual mother who died when she was younger, Sarah, Lisbeth Andrews. And as we've mentioned before, Lizzie changed her name after the whole trial murder incident to Lisbeth. Lisbeth Andrews, 1860 to 1927, and her sister Emma, who also died in 1927. Isn't it crazy? They were only a few months apart. And right here in front of us is the entire Borden family plot. You could obviously tell which one is Lizzie Borden's. It is definitely the most visited grave, not only in this section alone, but probably the cemetery itself. So there's her sister Emma next to her, and the one and only Lizzie Borden, or as she was later called, Lisbeth. Can you believe the one and only Lizzie Borden is buried 6 feet below us? And just to go down these grave sites, Alice, Susan, Sarah, which would have been Emma and Lizzie's actual mother. And then her father and stepmother, Andrew and Abby, are buried right below us right here. That's pretty creepy, just to know what happened to them. This is something to see. So since we've been here, I don't know, we've been here maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. There was already one woman who came. She had like big camera and stuff, came here to see Lizzie Borden, and there was a couple other people. And I think there's some people waiting for me to get out of the way so they can come see this on their own. But man, right here, Lizzie Borden.